Let's go for a little drive in the Peugeot e2008. We're going to leave with 80% in the battery. We're going to head out onto the highways, a little bit around town, awful lot of highway. And then we're going to stop and see what the efficiency is. And then we're going to make an estimate when we get back on what the actual usable capacity is and what that range will translate to. So we left town with about 180 k's of range. That's on a steady climb, that's dropped down to 152 k's. That was with 80% charge, but it's been just shuffling around the yard for a bit, so it's not going to have a true representation. Reset the trip meter, and that's showing that we have done 13 kilometers out, 3.4 kilometers per kilowatt hour. The car's driving in normal mode. You've got three options. You've got sport, normal, and eco. Sport does make it more sporty. Also, what it's good at, being an EV, is very quiet. But a lot of cars, EVs are certainly quiet in and of themselves, but once you get onto the highway, they lack noise isolation. And this is very good at it. It's an SUV, it's got plenty of suspension, it's got plenty of tyres, it's got a decent bit of actual noise isolation in the car as well. It's quite hard to hear road noise. It's also quite hard to hear other cars on the highway. There's two buttons on the back of the cruise control stalk that control your speed. Really, really easy if you bother to look. Super intuitive, actually. And in fact, it's actually marked on the front of the cruise control stalk. On the subject of cruise control, the lane keep is very, very good. Let's just deal with some potholes. Yeah, it doesn't interrupt. So the lane keep nudges you back into place and gives you a little gentle bomb. It's not going to freak out. It's not going to scream at you like some cars do. Oh, and the speedo is showing 100 k's on cruise control at the moment, and if I look down at my GPS speedometer, showing 98, 99. So 4.4 kilometers per kilowatt hour in the 100 zone. Roads there are very, very straight. It gets a lot more winding now. Still on cruise control. I don't have the heaters on or anything because it's just a lovely day. Now we're into the safer speed zone, the 80k zone, which is much, much better for an EV anyway. It'd be interesting to see how long it takes for the it's 4.5 kilometers per kilowatt hour. So obviously we're going to recover that range quite quickly now, I think. We'll also check it when we get back to town, and we'll see how much energy we've actually used. Our turnaround point today, we're not going to stick to the lakes and the rivers that we're used to. We are going chasing waterfalls. I have to say, for a not very sports orientated mid-size compact crossover, whatever on earth these are supposed to be called, it drives beautifully round corners. 4.7 kilometers per kilowatt hour, average 72 k's an hour, and we've done 52 kilometers. Saying we've got 96 k's of range, which marries up with what we had when we left Taupo, but not when we left Drive EV. There it said we had 180 k's, so we should have an extra 30 k's on top of that. I reckon that's all going to come back. The range meter seems to be hovering just above the halfway point on the battery. But we found our waterfalls, I think. Let's send the robot up to look a little closer. Boots are decent size. That's the camera equipment to carry around with you. So there's a little bit of a spot underneath here for your cables and what have you. But if you want to have a flat load floor, then you can do that, and it is one handle if you know what you're doing. The back seats do fold down almost flat. Checked the other day. Let's try that one again. The back seats do fold down almost flat, so you could technically sleep in it. Let's try. Try that with that parcel shelf. Inside it's well nice. These seats are really comfortable, deep bolsters, nice materials. They look cool. They've got venting in them. They're not manually, not power vented, but they're cloth seats, so they're actually comfortable to sit in. Glove box it's perfectly respectable to estimate it is tiny. Down here you have a nice little place to put your phone if you want to use it as a second screen whilst navigation and stuff. Drive modes, drive selector, and brake drive modes. Up here some nice piano keys. Oh, I just locked the car. Secondary screen, main screen with iCockpit. Probably translates better in French. What did I break? In terms of a frunk, we have no frunk. But this is a car designed to be a BEV, FEV and the petrol one. Bad news, no frunk. Good news, because it's a bigger market for this particular car, it's going to push the prices down. You need to get a bit more car for your money. Don't tell Steve, I am parked so close to the cliff to get a neat shot that didn't work and I can't use. And I'm a little bit scared from when I drive away. Turning around, heading back, we've got 100 k's of range in the battery. It's sitting pretty much bang on half. We've done 53 k's to get here. So if it's not 106 k's when I get back, I've got something wrong. 4.6 kilometers per kilowatt hour and averaging 64 k's an hour. So let's see how that works out by the time we get back. I'm hoping it's going to come up quite significantly because we should be heading slightly downhill, and cruise control in this is so good once you've worked it out. Oh my word. I should say some things about the outside so we can cut to some drone shots. I'm going to start with the things I can see whilst I'm driving, obviously. A couple of comments from people that have seen it and sat in it. The front end looks like a regular car. It's not obscenely electric car. Because it's a multi-drivetrain platform, it has a real grille. It's got LED lights up front and rear, which are pretty sassy. Doesn't seem to do a light dance that I've noticed. Got a little bit of plastic cladding around the wheel arches to make it a bit more SUV-like. Some people won't like that, some people will. It's certainly easier to live with if you have to actually take it off-road. Certainly copes with scratches and trolley dinks. What else is good? Oh, roof rails. It has roof rails. So when I get back to the office, I'll have a look and see what actual weight it can take on its roof. Again, anything that you put on the outside of the car is going to affect your range. Nearly back at Drive EV, we are achieving 5.2 kilometers per kilowatt hour as an average. That's gone up 2.2 kilometers a kilowatt hour since we pulled back into town. So pretty good around town, not so ideal highway. It's a fairly reasonably big car, I suppose. That's us back at base. The Ranger meter is showing 52 k's of range left. So we'll plug her in and see how much actual energy we use. Remember, we left on 80%, so we'll charge back up to 80% and get some math from the app to tell us how much we actually used. BT Dubs, our journey today was 106k, which is exactly what it should be. 5.2 kilometers per kilowatt hour. We averaged 68 kilometers per hour, and we got 56 k's of range at just over a quarter. So just on that math, we've got about 200 k's of range. But let's see what goes back into the battery. Oh, engineering. DC charger says 29% still in the battery. A bit more than 25 that the dashboard's reporting. We DC charge from 29% all the way up to 80%, and we put 22 kilowatt hours into the battery, which gives us a usable pack size of about 44-45 kilowatt hours.